Ladies and gentlemen, there is a truth that lies deeper than what words can grasp, a flame born not in the mind, but in the soul, and when that flame is real, no storm can put it out, no silence can dim it, no distraction can erase it, because when it's real, nothing can quench. Let us walk into the chambers of this truth and discover its echoes within ourselves. There resides within each of us a quiet voice, one that does not argue, does not demand, does not plead. It is not the voice of the world, nor of those who raised us, nor even of the many selves we have worn to survive. It is older than those. It is the voice we heard as children before we knew the words to name it. And though we often silence it with noise, with ambition, with fear, or with the expectations of others, it does not die. It waits. This inner voice does not compete with the outer world. It speaks only when we are still enough to hear it, often in the silence between thoughts, or in the moments when our defenses fall away. Sometimes it speaks as a yearning that has no explanation, a restlessness that no achievement satisfies. Sometimes it arrives as a deep sense of knowing, not logic, not evidence, but a truth we recognize like a forgotten song. We try to dismiss it. We call it irrational. We tell ourselves it's just emotion, or imagination, or the residue of dreams. And yet, it persists. It survives every attempt to ignore it. In our greatest successes, it may whisper, "This is not it." In our quietest defeats, it may murmur, "There is more." It is unshaken by circumstance. It is not interested in whether we are praised or condemned, comfortable or afraid. It cares only for truth, our truth, the one hidden beneath the layers we've been told to wear. And when something real arises from that voice, a calling, a love, a vision, it carries the weight of eternity. It does not flicker with mood or fashion. It does not ask for permission. It arrives whole, and even if we do not act on it, even if we bury it under reason or compromise, it stays. It may grow quiet, like embers beneath ash, but it will never be extinguished. One day it will rise again, in a dream, in a breakdown, in a moment of unbearable honesty, because what is real does not go away. To follow this voice is not easy. It may lead us away from safety. It may call us to become something we're afraid to be. It may cost us the approval of others, or the security of a life built on pretense. But to deny it is to live divided, to succeed on the outside while dying on the inside. The inner voice does not guarantee comfort, but it guarantees meaning. It guarantees authenticity. And in the end, that is the only flame worth keeping lit, because when something is born of that voice, truly born of it, no amount of time, resistance, or doubt can quench it. It is not a voice that we find. It is a voice that finds us again and again until we are ready to listen. What is real does not always speak in plain language. In fact, the most profound truths we encounter in life rarely come to us directly. They appear as symbols, as images, as feelings too large for sentences. They bypass logic and reason, not because they are irrational, but because they exist at a level deeper than rationality, at the level of the soul. The symbol is the language of the inner world. It is the language of dreams, of intuition, of poetry, of silence. It comes to us not to explain, but to awaken. It arrives uninvited in the shape of a recurring dream, a place we cannot forget, a person who carries a strange familiarity, a moment in childhood that still stirs something wordless in us. These are not coincidences. They are clues. They are the way reality reveals its hidden layer, not with instruction, but with invitation. In our modern world, we are trained to value what is clear, what is definable, what can be measured and proven. But the soul does not abide by these laws. The soul speaks through mystery, and the symbol is its chosen vessel, not to obscure the truth, but to protect it from being trivialized. Symbols ask us not to analyze, but to feel, not to dissect, but to live into. They do not give us answers. They awaken questions that transform us. When something is real, when love is real, when purpose is real, when pain is real, it almost always arrives cloaked in symbol. You may find yourself drawn to a place you've never been, a subject you can't explain your fascination with, a face in a crowd that arrests your breath. You may wake from dreams that haunt you for years, whose meanings you do not understand but which refuse to leave. These are not accidents. These are messengers. They carry within them a truth that is not merely intellectual, it is existential. The symbol does not care whether you understand it. Its power does not depend on your ability to explain it. What matters is that it moves you, that it stirs something ancient within you, something you didn't know was there until that moment. When something speaks to you through symbol, it has bypassed the surface self and gone straight to the core of your being. And this is how the real endures, not through facts or data or declarations, but through images and moments that leave imprints on the soul. These cannot be argued with, they cannot be forgotten, they may be denied, but never erased. A symbol, a real one, follows you. It lives with you, even when ignored. It appears in different forms across time, across phases of life, always pointing you towards something essential. And until you turn and face it, until you stop asking, what does it mean? And begin asking, what is it asking of me? It will persist, because what is real does not vanish. It transforms, it hides, it waits, but it does not die. We must learn to see again with the eyes of the soul, to feel rather than explain, to honor the symbol not as a riddle to be solved, but as a sacred mirror held up to the deepest part of ourselves. Only then do we begin to grasp that the real is not loud, not literal, but eternal, carried always in the quiet power of the symbol. We are taught, often from an early age, that if something is right, it will be easy, that peace is a sign of correctness, and that struggle means we must be on the wrong path. But the soul does not abide by such simplified notions. In truth, the presence of conflict is not always a warning. Sometimes it is the very proof that we have touched something real. When something arises from the depths of our being, a purpose, a truth, a love, a path, it does not always align with the world we have constructed around us. The structures of our lives, our relationships, our careers, our beliefs are often built for stability, for survival, for approval. But when something real surfaces, it shakes these foundations. It disrupts. And this disruption is not a sign of falsehood, but of truth asserting itself. Conflict then becomes confirmation. It is a sacred tension between who we were and who we are becoming, between the known and the unknown, between comfort and transformation. When what is real meets the walls of the persona, of social expectation, of inherited belief, there will be friction. There must be, because the real has no interest in preserving what is false. It arrives not to negotiate, but to awaken. And awakening, by its nature, disturbs. You may feel torn between what you have and what you desire, between the life that fits and the life that calls. You may feel guilt, fear, doubt, not because you are wrong, but because the gravity of the real is pulling you beyond the limits you've accepted. This is not weakness, it is the soul trying to stretch itself into its fullest shape. And that expansion hurts. The old self resists, the world resists. Even parts of your own psyche may rise up in protest. But this is not failure, it is birth. When you feel the conflict swelling inside you, when the truth brings chaos instead of calm, that is often the moment to listen more closely, not turn away, because what is false tends to fade under pressure. But what is real intensifies, it deepens its roots, it survives. True love does not come without fear. True purpose does not come without doubt. Truth, when it first arrives, often brings disruption, not serenity. It tears through illusion, it demands sacrifice, but it also brings vitality. It enlivens the soul in a way that comfort never can. There is a sacred paradox in all this. We only truly know something is real when it endures opposition, when it refuses to die in the face of resistance. A desire that disappears at the first sign of struggle was likely never rooted in the soul to begin with. But that which continues to burn, even when drowned in doubt, even when unloved, unspoken, or delayed, that is the mark of something eternal. So do not be afraid of the battle. When it comes, know that it has meaning. The conflict you feel may not be a defeat, or it may be the very threshold into authenticity, for only what is real is worth fighting for. Only what is real can survive the fire and emerge brighter, and if you are in that fire now, do not flee. The presence of the conflict may be the soul's quiet affirmation. You have found something that matters. We all wear masks, not out of deception, but necessity. From the moment we first learn what pleases others and what draws disapproval, we begin crafting versions of ourselves meant to survive, to be accepted, to avoid rejection. We learn to smile when we are uncertain, to agree when we are uneasy, to shrink when we should rise. These masks help us move through the world. They keep us safe, but they are not who we are. Beneath the persona, the face we offer to the outer world, something deeper always stirs. A fire that no role, no performance, no mask can truly hold. It is the flame of our authentic self, the part of us that longs, creates, suffers, and loves without condition. And though we may try to silence it, repress it, or outgrow it, it cannot be extinguished. For the real self, the self that burns with original essence, is not interested in pretense. It does not negotiate with falsehood. It simply waits and burns. The mask can endure for a time. In fact, many people live entire lives behind it, convincing even themselves that the role is enough. But the flame beneath is patient. It is quiet, but relentless. It may show itself in moments of stillness, in sudden tears that rise without warning, in a sense of emptiness even in success. It may cry out in dreams, in illness, or in the sharp ache of disconnection. These are not failures. They are the signs that the flame is pressing against the mask, demanding air, demanding truth. You may find yourself excelling in a life that feels foreign. You may have everything you are told to want, and still feel a hollowness you can't explain. That is the soul speaking. That is the fire refusing to be contained. The longer we deny it, the more it turns against us, not out of cruelty, but out of desperation to be known. The more we suppress what is real within us, the more it distorts, appearing as anxiety, numbness, or sudden eruptions of emotion we can no longer control. Eventually, the mask cracks. It must. The real self will not be buried forever. And when that moment comes, often through loss, heartbreak, burnout, or quiet breakdown, we are left standing before ourselves, raw and unfamiliar, yet deeply known. That meeting is terrifying, but it is also sacred. It is the first breath after suffocation. It is not the end of something, it is the beginning. To live in truth is to let the flame burn, even if it scorches the mask. It means choosing discomfort over denial, honesty over approval. It means allowing who we are to be more important than who we were told to be. It is not a one-time act, but a lifelong unfolding, a return again and again to the fire within, and a refusal to pretend it is not there. And in that return, we find strength, not the strength of control, but the strength of surrender, not the safety of fitting in, but the freedom of being whole. Because when you allow the flame to burn freely, when you remove the mask, even if only for a moment, you are not weakened. You are made real. No matter how convincing the mask, no matter how carefully it is crafted, it cannot contain the flame. Eventually, the soul demands to be seen, and when it does, everything false must fall away. That is not tragedy, that is liberation. There is a kind of pain in this life that we are all taught to avoid, the pain of longing, of sacrifice, of inner conflict. We are told that suffering is something to be eliminated, numbed, or solved. But not all suffering is the same. There is a hollow suffering, the kind that comes from living in contradiction to ourselves, from betraying what we know is true. And then there is another kind, a holy suffering, a meaningful ache, the kind that arises when we choose to honor what is real, no matter the cost. To suffer for the real is not the same as being wounded by the false. It is not the kind of suffering that depletes or darkens. It is the suffering that refines, that strips away illusion, that deepens the soul, that makes us more alive. When you love truly, when you pursue a purpose that is rooted in the depths of your being, when you speak a truth that shakes the room, there will be pain. But that pain is the price of living in alignment with what matters most. And it is worth everything. Many people never allow themselves to reach this depth. They live in avoidance, building lives designed not to feel, but to protect. But protection is not fulfillment. Safety is not purpose. You can wrap yourself in comfort and still be starving inside. It is only when you dare to walk toward the thing that stirs your soul, even if it costs you approval, stability, or belonging, that you begin to truly live. There is a loneliness in this path, yes. There are moments of doubt so fierce they feel like silence from the divine. There are days when you will want to go back to the simpler version of yourself, the one who didn't feel so much, want so deeply, or believe so wildly. But the soul cannot know what it knows. Once awakened, it does not return to sleep. It only asks for your courage not to be perfect, but to be real. And in being real, in staying true to what is yours even when it breaks your heart, you will find a kind of peace that the world cannot offer. Not peace as in ease, but peace as in integrity, the quiet power of knowing that your suffering is not in vain, that it has direction, that it is tied to something sacred. To suffer for something false is to decay. But to suffer for something real is to be transformed. The artist who pours themselves into a work no one understands, the lover who remains loyal to a connection that defies logic, the seeker who walks away from comfort to find truth, these are not failures. They are the ones who carry the fire of meaning through the darkness. They bleed, but they do not collapse. They cry, but they do not betray what they love. And even if the world does not recognize this path, even if no applause greets it, the soul knows. The soul keeps the record, and in the stillness of your most honest moments, you will feel it, that what you are enduring is not merely pain, it is purpose. So, let the world call it madness. Let even your own mind try to explain it away. If it is real, and you choose it anyway despite the uncertainty, despite the loneliness, then your suffering becomes sacred. It is no longer something to escape. It is something to carry with reverence, like a torch that lights the way. And in the end you will know you did not suffer for nothing. You suffered for something that matters, something that is yours, something that cannot be quenched.